Hello and welcome to the Hobby Corner. My name's Kev, and in this episode we're going to be painting the Primaris Captain using both issue 39 and 40's painting guides. So stay tuned to find out more. So before we get started, please make sure that if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon next to it so you get notifications whenever I upload more videos. Plenty of links down below for social media. There's also tons of Facebook groups to join. They're all amazing, full of fantastic people, so don't miss them out. There's a link to the Chilling Wargamers Facebook as well. Go check them out. I'm a proud member. They're my brothers and we do some amazing work full of free content, so check that out. There are also ways of supporting the channel if you wish to, through PayPal, Patreon, and also there's a link to Teespring where you can get your own THC t-shirt. We also do mugs, face masks, and all sorts of stuff, so it's well worth checking out. Now, all that's done, let's get to it, shall we? First we're going to build that stuff. Oh no, I didn't build it. When did I build it?
Eventually.
So first, let's get round to the building bit.
Okay, so first of all, what you want to do is have a good look at the sprue and familiarise yourself with all the pieces and the numbers corresponding to the pieces in the instructions. Don't actually have to follow the instructions because a lot of the model is quite intuitive in how it builds, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Make sure you got all your pieces that you need, so model line remover, plastic glue, and your clippers. You might want a hobby blade as well, but that's up to you. Then you carefully clip out all the pieces. Make sure that you keep them in numerical order so you don't get too mixed up with how to put it together. Once you clipped out the bits that you need, then use your model line remover or hobby knife and carefully remove any model lines that you find and any additional bits of plastic from the sprue. Once you're done, dry fit before you put any glue, and this way you'll find out how it fits perfectly without making any mistakes. And then just make sure that you let the leg bits dry before you glue too much on, otherwise the legs will bend and buck and you get wonky legs and you won't stand flat on the base. So you just take your time, and like I said, if you ever get stuck, familiarise yourself with the instructions. See, with this shin bit, it did need a little extra glue because it didn't quite bond flat with the rest of the leg, but once I added a little extra glue to fill in that void, it stuck on nicely. Now we are going to be doing a sub assembly, so here you would normally glue the cape, but what I'm going to do is actually glue it to a spare bit of sprue, and I've kept other pieces as well stuck on the sprue. This is so I can get to the cape and paint the cape nicely, and it's also so I can paint all the little bits and pieces without making too much of a mess. So this is essentially what a sub-assembly is like. You do also have other options as well, like the pointy finger rather than the power sword, and you have two options to customize your bolt rifle. So it could be a stalker bolt rifle, or you can go for a assault bolt rifle. It's up to you. And then of course you got the Centurion plume to put on the helmet, which is a quick glue on job.
So there you go there. I've done some interesting things with it, but it will pay off in the long run when you see this bit. So let's move on to painting using issue 39's guide. Okay, so if you haven't seen it already, my run up to the Indomitus box release video thingamabob, I had a little marathon of trying to get these Conquest models done. It was a big failure, definitely overreaching, but I got a lot done as well. So the building part of a lot of the models and some of the painting will be in those videos, so I'll put a link up there, and I've just started the playlist. I've just created the playlist so you can see those live streaming videos, and yeah, there's a lot of good laughs in there, and you get to see how not to build stuff and how not to paint stuff. Anyways, cutting that short, I did get some of this painting done. So as you can see, I had already gone over with my usual base coat after a spray with the McCrag blue. I then started picking out all the lead belcher details, like the blade and all that, and on the little bits as well. And I did go into more detail about why I kept certain pieces on these little bits of sprue as well. It's just to make it easier to paint, so you can get around to the details. After all of that, I did do a all over wash of Nuln oil to shade in the lead belcher and the McCrag blue. It is different to the guide in the book, but it was because I was trying to do a speed paint sort of thing with quite a large force. So though I will clarify as we go along which steps go where, but for the most part this is, you know, stuff that we can still work with. So if you were starting from fresh, you would do all the McCrag blue. Then what you would do is you get your Rakarth flesh and you'd paint the inside of the cloak like that. And of course I got it on a spare bit of sprue just so it's easier to paint around it before I attach it to the model. Also part of his tabard down there as well. And then you move on to Retributor Gold. So Retributor Gold here, you'll paint in the crests, the details, the Terminator's Crux I think it's called, this bit here, and the halo and stuff like that. So again, reference the pictures in the guide. Then you'll move on to your lead belcher, and what you'll do with this is just paint in all the little silver areas, the blade and all that, all over there. So that's already been done. You can just look at the pictures in the magazine to get a good idea, or check out that video that I linked. Then we move on to Abaddon Black, and this will be to block out some of the areas like the gun and some other details as well, maybe the handle on the sword and the holster and stuff like that. Then we go to Mephiston Red. Mephiston Red, we will be painting the crest. We'll also paint the front of the tabard and some of the ropes and screens and stuff like that. So it's just more about details than anything else. Then we move on to Celestial Grey. So Celestial Grey will be used for a few other details, doing the stripes on the crest and stuff like that. And then once we've done all that, we'll just fill in the little detail on the base with Mechanicus Standard Grey. Finally, we'll move on to Agrax Earthshade to shade in some of the areas, and then Nuln Oil, and then we will finish off with Astro Granite. And just to cover all bases, we will go over painting the helmetless head. So you will need Reichland Flesh Shade and Bugman's Glow. Let's get cracking. So again, already done the McCrag Blue, so we go on to the Reichland Flesh Shade. Now you will need to do a couple of layers of this just to get a nice consistent coating on the cloak. Make sure you got fresh water, you just wet it a little bit just so it's nice thin, but not too thin because you don't want it to go clear. And this is why it's handy to have it on a bit of a sprue, because now I won't have to worry about fingerprints. So you just go along like that, and then when you're done, wait for it to dry fully and do another coat. So it sort of look a little something like that. Next up, our Retributor Gold. So we will be painting lots of little details. So get some on your palette. Like that. Tiniest drop of water, because If you thin metallics down too much, they split and they don't cover that well. Make sure you get a lot of that off your brush because you don't want to smother it. And then you just go over all your details. So you can follow the guide for this, but it'll be the Aquila there, it'll be the Aquila across the chest as well, like so. There's going to be I think it's the shoulder pads, like the rims on there. What else? Oh yeah, you got like this little reliquary lantern thing down here, and you know, there's tons of details to do. And of course, when this is properly dry as well, you'll want to just paint the little Aquila on the corner, so be very careful. I suggest like using the side of your bristles, as that will avoid, you know, any direct bristles going straight at the cloth, and you'll get a fairly neat thing. And of course, along the rim you see the raised line that goes around, so again, just use the side, just take your time, no need to rush it, and see, comes out alright. Alright, so it should look a little something like this, and a little something like that. There we go. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Right, next up, lead belt jar. Alright, next up we get our Abaddon black, and we're going to be painting in a few details. So the joints in the armor, so you just be careful there, try not to get it onto any of the armor panels like that. You'll be looking at the belt straps like so, and holster straps like that, and the arms, the straps on the sword handle as well. Just be careful not to paint on those fingers. All the panels on your bolt rifle, so you just paint that out nicely like that, and there you go. It should look a little something like this. Now what we're going to do is get our Mephiston red, and then we're going to start painting the reverse of the cape, the front of the tabard, and some other details as well. Okay, so got lots of little details like the stamp on the oath of moment on here. Also got the front of the tabard, so be careful not to go over the bits that you did in Rakarth Flesh. You also need to paint the rope that goes along across the front there. Also going to be painting his little mohawk at the top as well. Any eye lenses, just make sure you got a nice fine point for that, and just a little circle around the edge like that. And if you have got any spill, you can easily wipe it off on the way. And while we're at it, we might as well just do the other side as well. So you just sort of go at an angle like that, making sure you use the point on your brush like that. And yeah, if you see any other details as well, grab those. It does say to paint the panel and the screen, the little dials on that. What I also do is the glass on the scope, I'd paint that red as well, like so. Make sure that you do thin down that red when you go over the cape, otherwise you get it all streaky like that. So you may need to do a couple of layers, and as long as you haven't water down too much, it should come out alright after about 3 layers. And it should look something a little like this. Next up, we are going to grab our Celestial Grey, and we're gonna just paint in a couple of bits here and there. Right, and with this we will be painting this knee pad here, the circle on this shoulder here where we'll paint the icon, this skull on this knee here, and I believe there's supposed to be these tassels, so I'll paint over those. I got a bit carried away and painted those red. And we're going to do the stripes as well. So what you want to do is sort of try and divide it. So you just do one side like so, and then you do the other side like so. Try not to do too much, and then you just sort of pick the middle bit like that, so it's sort of even, and then you can just carry that over straight like that. Right, so it should look a little something like this, and of course that's the plume on the helmet. Could be evened out a bit more, but that's something to work on later. Right, now we focus on some details. So on the bolt gun you have your scroll work here, and you have your purity seal here. Going to be painting that in your Rakar flesh, and then with your Retributor gold you want to paint in the little ammo cases within the magazine, and of course if you got the barrel drum you'll have a few more to do. So that's it really, and then we'll move on to our final stage after that. Alright, and then with the Mechanica Standard Grey we'll just paint the rubble like so. Alright, now we'll be using our Agrax Earthshade, so make sure you give it a good shake, and as I always say, if you're going to be using it a lot, pop a bit of blue tack on the bottom, fix it down like that, and that way you avoid any spillage. And now with Agrax Earthshade we're going to be focusing on all of the gold areas, and we're also going to be shading in all the red areas as well, like the rope and that. And don't forget that you will want to put the shade in the creases and recesses of the cloth and the cloaks, so you might want to use a smaller brush to do that. Alright, once you finish with the Agrax Earthshade, you then move on to Mountain Oil. So anything that you've painted in Celestial Grey, just shade in nicely like that, and of course all the stuff in Lead Belcher as well. Alright, for the helmetless option, to finish it off, just paint in the flesh with Bugman's Glow, and we've already shaded and painted in all the other bits. So once this is dry, do a wash of Reichland Flesh Shade, which you should know how to do. And then when that dries, you can then pick out the 2 studs on his forehead with some Lead Belcher. So it should look a little something like that. So once that's done, pop your Astrogranite on there, and you have the choice of leaving it like this for the next issue, which will do the
the highlights, or you can put it all together. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it as it is, because the highlight stuff is in the next issue, and if I do want to play on the tabletop, then I could just have him headless on the base without an issue. So I shall leave it there. Excuse me, Storm, but I'm kind of trying to record here. Can you not make so much noise blowing all the trees around? Thank you kindly. That's better.
Now that the basics are done, let's go over to issue 40. Now this guide is meant for your entire collection of Space Marines so far. So all the highlights and layering you want to cover on all your models. So go back, anything that you haven't done from this issue, do it. So I'll be highlighting your reds, some of your greys, and some other bits and pieces and details as well. So let's have a look and see what we do with our Primaris Captain. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to issue 40's painting instructions. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because it kind of adds more to the model, and since you already got it out, you might as well just do these little extra bits. So that's why I haven't put the Astral Granite on the base, because in order to do that, I'd have to put all the pieces together, put it on the base, and then put the Astral Granite around. And I want to try and avoid that for now. So I still got the pieces separate, and of course when I do cut them out, I'll touch up the areas where it was touching the sprue. But for now, we've got it how we want it. I have done a little neatening up here and there, but we're moving on to layering. Now this is our first foray into layering with the Conquest magazine, and we're starting off with Liberator Gold. This will be used to add a little extra shine to all the gold areas, and then we have Stormhost Silver, which we will then use to do a little highlighting to the lead belcher areas, and then we have Wild Rider Red. And with this, we're going to be layering the red areas, so mostly the cloaks, but we'll also be touching up little red details here and there. So let's get cracking. So of course these are brand new paints, so you are going to need to give them a real good shake and then apply them onto a palette, and just a little bit at a time. You won't really need to thin them out because they are layer paints, so they are thin anyway, and you want to use the smaller brush that you got. I'm using the Artificer layer brush because I find that I get a bit more accuracy with it, but you can use any which small brush that you have. So with Liberator Gold, what we're going to do is do a little edge highlighting. So you just find the corners and use the side of the brush, and you just go along nice and easy like that, and it's a very subtle highlight. It's not going to really pop. If you want to make it pop, then I would suggest going over with Stormhost Silver, but this just gives it that little nice warm highlight there, and then you just pick out the corners on the wings, and you just take your time. Make sure you have all your fingers resting against each other on the other hands as well, so you're steadying your arms and your hands. You just take your time. Don't worry if you make any mistakes. You can always sort them out later if they are noticeable. So it's just a slight difference, but it makes all the difference. So you do that with the rest of it, and then once you've done that, we'll move on to the Stormhost Silver, and with this you'll do some edge highlighting as well of all those lead belch areas. Again, just the side of your bristles, and you just go along all the edges. So you do all those areas, and then of course go along the edge of your blade as well. of course I can neaten that up afterwards. But I did do it really well on that side, and bloody camera didn't focus on it. So all the metallic areas will be highlighted like that, and then our final highlight will be with the Wild Rider red. Again, let's go with those other highlights. So the extremes of the robes, like that. Just little highlights on all the red areas, you know, little dib dab there. And then if you are feeling confident, you could do a little bit of detail on the screen here as well. Maybe just a little red blob. I'll do 2 blobs like that. Just doing a little highlight on the islands. So you try and just get the point to go along the bottom of the islands, like that. And then a little bit on there. And there you go, it looks so good already. There's just a few more things that will be done later on in another issue, but they give you plenty of time to finish that. Well, most of you probably have finished it already, but you know. So I'm pretty sure at least half of you have still got it in your pile of shame, so I'm trying to get you to get motivated with it. If I can get it done, you certainly can. Now, to my favourite bit, and the bit you've all been waiting for, our community focus. That's right, this is where I ask you, the amazing people of the community, to show us and you guys all around your amazing renditions of the featured model, or you know, the featured theme of the episode. So I asked all of you what you done with your Primaris Captain, and there's been some fantastic responses, so check it out. And that didn't disappoint, did it? There was some amazing paintwork there, absolutely amazing conversion ideas as well. And what can I say? If that doesn't get you to painting yours, then I don't know what will. So thank you so much to everyone that participated in this week's community focus. It was amazing. I can't say anymore. I'm lost for words. Anyway, as I said before, if you haven't subscribed already and you like these videos, just subscribe, hit the bell icon, like it, comment below what you thought about the paint guides and which of those community posts you liked the most. And if you're feeling really charitable, share the video, share it till your heart's content. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.